India is a source of big ideas. The idea of the whole and not. The idea of sound and sensation, of courage and ahimsa, of power and peace. The idea of bhakti, karma, and swadharma. The idea of making over, making moves, and making the most of. And the biggest of all, the idea of India itself. This idea has an entire nation named after it. It has inspired profound quests and staged moments of great importance, inward and outward. The idea has turned out to be not this, eventually, not without imminent clashes and contradictions. The question remains open: what is India? Even a tourist coming from a far off country would admit that India is an experience. But what kind of experience depends on what he looks for, because it is more than the eyes could meet. What he finds, because it is more than the mind could ponder. How he interprets it, because it offers diverse viewpoints. In other words, it depends on how he asks the question, what is India? For an average Indian, India is an experience of different kind, a living experience which baffles him. He fails to link his copious heritage with the deficient present. He has no time to wonder what India is, for what it was and what it shall be kills time. For the modern Indian, there is too much to leave behind. And for the traditional Indian, there is too much to catch up with. Therefore, he keeps switching sides. He makes claims, he manipulates, pretends, isolates, adapts, mimics. On the whole, he manages the idea of India. He does not think it. India has continued to give birth to distinguished scholars, and they are continuing its line of thought, contributing ever more to the world knowledge. But somehow, there seems to be no shift in the Indian awareness per se. It is not that answers are not coming, they are not reaching because questions are not rising. There is no realization because ideas are not blossoming. The realization that underlies India is in pursuing its own quest, in setting its own standards, in propagating itself and fulfilling itself in its self awareness. Realizing India is a documentary series which inquires into the idea of India and inspires the realization of that idea. Our main thread sutra is what is the idea known as India and how it can be realized. We are not looking for answers to these questions. We are looking for a debate. We believe there is an ongoing debate between the ancient and the modern Indian, between the farmer and the politician, between the woman and society, between economy and ecology, between science and mysticism, between the world and India. We want to become the platform for this vital debate, the result of which can impart profoundness and peace to the ailing humankind. To know India, we must know the Indian way of looking at things. Not the Desi attitude nonchalantly publicized, but a systematic, thorough, tasted, objective, realistic, and well established Indian way. To know if such a way exists, we have to enter into the very womb of India. What are India's own questions, and what is the original approach taken by India to ponder those questions? Who are its thinkers? Who are its livers? Who are its lovers? Is India a glory of the past, victim of the recent past, hopelessness of the present, and horror of the future? Or is India a reality beyond decay, waiting to be translated. Nation is a limited concept of India. India is too complex to fit into a nation by size or by shape. So are the political, historical, racial, biological, geographical, idealistic, religious, linguistic, and patriotic versions inadequate to express what is known as India. Not only because of its plurality, but due to its intuitiveness and experimentation. If the charges we make on India, such as dichotomy, inequity, chaos, apathy, and other demerits, are the result of flawed concepts, then flawed also are the concepts which bestow on India ageless glory, moral perfection, unity in diversity, and religious universality. Any concept which presumes India, its vices or virtues, is flawed. How can flawed concepts arrive at the reality known as India? Only an uncompromising inquiry into the idea of India can reveal the full spectrum of Indian existence. In that spectrum, a search within its colors can unravel how it comprises of many and yet continues to be one. Realizing India is a search for questions and patterns of questioning, ideas and argument, attempts and understandings that reverberate through the millennia of Indian existence. Among these, we see which ones developed fully, formed the fundamental essentials of knowledge, and laid the foundation for a continuing line of thought. We not only examine the current quests of India in the light of its previous knowledge, but also search the roots of the ongoing Indian thought. We want to examine Indians and their knowledge, modern as well as ancient, in Indian context. Timeline for us is principally non-linear. In fact, diversity of time offers us the vantage point to realize India in its original state. We should be at odds with our purpose, therefore, if we sever the timeline between the modern Indian and his ancestor, even for the sake of comparison. The notion of then and now is our first negation, and adherence to what is our foremost support. We consider two approaches to realize the idea of India. We negate what it is not. We directly realize what it is. Following either of the two ways or a combination of the two, we try to formulate a continuous and consistent idea of India. The subject may vary from diversity to symbolism, agriculture, science. In fact, the subject may be as gross as casteism and as subtle as psyche. It could be as random as hotel food or as primed as society and women. The main thread sutra will underlie these debates as well as emerge out of them. Realizing India is an ocean of a subject. It does not have one theme. Sometimes it can be described only through metaphors. It rains questions and raises argument which follows countless citations. It's charged with drama which involves unforgettable characters. Its placid scenery, swarming with activity, at times calls for so much to listen, from harsh words to heavenly melody. To film it as an experience and offer the viewer as much of entertainment as insight is not an easy feat. We need a sturdy yet supple design to work at various levels with several people. The making of Realizing India demands all possible resources, intellectual, technical, and monetary. Without your contribution, the idea of India cannot be realized.